So Democrats think following the socialist Zoran Mamdani in New York because of his success will lead to national victories across the country. You can't make this crap up. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome to the Shermichael Singleton Show. I'm your host, Shermichael Singleton. And you guys got to watch this clip. It's the craziest thing I have ever seen. Democrats have been moving slowly and slowly to the left, further and further to the left. So much so that despite losing the election last November, you would think, and I'm just saying this as someone who's worked on a lot of campaigns as a political strategist, you learn from your mistakes. You got to move back to the center a little bit. That's not what Democrats are doing, at least not according to this senator and his comments on MSNBC. Let's roll this clip.
There are certain things that he stands for and says that I don't agree with, but I think you have to pay attention to the fact that you had a candidate in New York City that was talking every single day about the cost of living.
He said you got a candidate who was talking about the cost of living. He was. But what was his remedy to the problems? Taking over grocery stores? Taking money away from successful people? Starting with those who are white. He said we're going to tax whiter neighborhoods. Typically, whiter people tend to have more affluence. That is true. But then after you tax the whites, what group comes next? Is it the Asians? Is it the blacks who are successful? Is it the Latinos? Where do you stop under Mamdani's premise? We all recognize that there's an affordability issue in this country. Hell, I don't got to tell you all that. You experience it every damn day in your lives. But oh my God, let us not pretend that taking from hardworking people who have become successful is the remedy to that problem. Now, there are going to be some people who say, well, that's not what Mamdani is talking about. Yes, it is. Go to his campaign website and you'll see his ideas about controlling certain grocery stores. That's effectively socialism. He talks about taxing certain groups of people at higher rates. Now, maybe you believe it's okay to tax wealthier white people. But what happens to the wealthier people of other ethnicities? When will they be taxed? Because I promise you, it will never stop with just the wealthier white people. He will eventually go after. This is how these theories and ideas work. We saw it in Venezuela. We saw it in Italy. We've seen it in the old Soviet Union. They always start with one group and then they slowly say, well, that's not enough. We've taxed them to the max. Now we got to go to the next group. And you just heard Chris Murphy, Democratic senator, saying, well, that's okay. Let's roll the clip.
And he was proposing really big, sometimes radical ideas to take power from folks who have way too much of it.
To take power away from people who have way too much of it. For every single person of color in this country who have reached levels of success, crawled through poverty, violence, through occasional moments of discrimination, I'm sure, to reach a level of success that they and their families and communities can be proud of. Should you take power away from them? I mean, this is the problem with this ethos. When you say to take power away from people who've had too much of it, presumably you're talking about white people. But my question becomes, what about the other people of color who have power? Now, granted, comparatively speaking, there are more white people with power than Latinos, than Asians, than blacks. Well, obviously, because white people are the majority population. But in New York City, there are a lot of successful people of color of every ethnicity. It is really an interesting place when you think about it. It doesn't really exist in a lot of other parts of America outside of maybe places like Atlanta, Los Angeles in particular. I mean, these are three meccas where you see a lot of highly successful people of color. My question is, when will you go after them? Because eventually, that's what happens with these types of socialist ideas. They never stop with one group. They keep going and going and going until, as I said in the last video, until they go after Mamdani himself. And my question is, Mamdani's parents are successful, both of them. His mother, a successful filmmaker. His father, a successful professor. Both of them, according to reports, are millionaires. They sent Mamdani to a school that cost $66,000 a year for elementary school. So should we then go after Mamdani's parents? If Mamdani's parents live in a successful white part of New York City, like Manhattan, should they also be taxed more? What about the other people of color who live in these areas where wealthier white people live? Should they also be taxed more? Or do you say, well, we're going to tax everybody else but them? I doubt that's what Mamdani is going to do. So Mamdani's policies are going to have an undue burden on successful people of color, the very people that he's saying he wants to level the playing field with or for. How does that make any sense? It does not. But again, that's the problem with Mamdani's premise. And now you have Senator Chris Murphy essentially saying he seconds Mamdani's worldview. Let's roll the clip.
Like the big realty companies that are jacking up rents in New York City and transferring it to regular people. He did have a laser-like focus on cost of living, on shifting power to people who don't have enough of it. And I think if the Democratic Party, writ large, spent as much time or as big a percentage of our communications time talking about the cost of living as Mamdani did in New York, we'd probably win a lot more elections.
Chris Murphy has a current net worth estimated at between $1 to $2 million. That's according to his mutual funds, actually. Chris Murphy has a mutual fund, $547,000. Bank deposits over $400,000. Real estate in the hundreds of thousands. I mean, Chris Murphy alone has bank accounts with more money than most Americans alone. Would Chris Murphy be okay with Mamdani coming after him? Would Chris Murphy be okay with Mamdani going after the successful people in his state that he represents? I'd be willing to bet you the answer to that question would be no. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to sit here and gaslight anybody watching this video to pretend as if we don't have a wealth divide in this country. We do. We got to deal with it. And a part of how you deal with that divide is by giving more opportunity to people at the bottom. That it's by making sure that people have access to quality education so that their children can compete in this technologically advanced society. One of the reasons why wealthier people continue to have generations that do well is not just because of the wealth alone. Some interesting facts that showcase actually by the second and third generation, most of the wealth created by the first is nearly depleted or gone altogether. But you know what allows them to continue to be successful? Education. That's why they send their kids to these boarding schools and the best Ivy League schools. What if we gave every child in America an opportunity to get the same level of access to great schools? What if we replicated Harvard and had Harvards of the South, Harvards of the West, Harvards of the Midwest? What if we replicated that model of academic success and made it attainable? What if we did that? What if we focused on giving more tax breaks to middle-class people? Now, look, I'm not saying that people who make a lot of money shouldn't have a tax break. I'm not saying that at all. But what if we said, you know what, how about we give tax breaks to more middle-class people to allow them to have more disposable income to pay down their debt, to go and buy more products and goods? Because the reality is we have a $16 trillion consumer economy. And guess what? It's not the wealthiest people in the country that's made that possible. It's everyday hardworking people. So what if we focus on prioritizing them? You don't have to take from other people and their success and accomplishments to do anything that I just said. It's all possible if we actually wanted to. And I'm saying this as a conservative. Hardworking people in this country do deserve to be treated better. There's no doubt about it. They work too hard. They are the backbone of this economy. They should be prioritized. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a way structurally that we could do that through legislation. We got the big, beautiful bill that's being passed. There's some good things in it. Not taxing tips. That's a good thing. Giving an opportunity for our seniors and making sure that they're not double taxed on Social Security. That's a good thing. There are some good components, but it doesn't go far enough for me. And so if you were Democrats, you would think they would try to say, well, let us prioritize working class people more. They're not doing that. They've actually ceded that ground to Republicans. Look at all of the data, and you're seeing more working class people, predominantly white, but now also of other ethnicities, slowly moving over to the right. And Democrats' answer to that, government grocery stores, going into certain communities and taxing certain people because of their ethnicity more than others? And what about the people of color who also live in those places, who have seen success? Should they also have their net worth taxed at a greater percentage? I mean, I thought Mamdani and Democrats were all about empowering people from these groups, as they would refer. But you see how it's not congruent. And then the question becomes, where does it end? When you tax group A, eventually you get to B, you get to C, you get to D. And you'd have to be dumb enough to wait around to find out what's going to come next. Let me know in the comments below, do you think this is going to help Democrats win elections following Mamdani's socialist worldviews? I don't think it is. I think Democrats need to move back to the center, not further to the left. People are rejecting that, and they seem to have not picked up the memo. I'm sure Michael Singleton. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this video by Chris Murphy and his comments on MSNBC. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it. I'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks for watching.